Welcome. This is a Goffstown Planning Board workshop for the zoning 2026 proposed zoning amendments. We will not hear any other business tonight other than the announced zoning amendments workshop. I will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll start with introduction, starting with Sylvia.
Sylvia Von Allock. I'm here for Joanne Duffy. Now maybe till mid-January. We'll see.
Thank you. Welcome.
Joshua Douglas, Select Board Rep.
Scott Ozana, Town Engineer.
Tim Redmond.
Colleen Mayu.
Tim Searles.
Barbara Griffin.
David Pierce.
David, it will be, if there's anything to vote on regarding our zoning amendments workshop, David will be voting tonight since one of our elected members is not here. We have minutes from 10/23 of 25 that were on the table, I believe.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Of what date?
10/23.
October 23rd.
Yep. We have a motion to approve. Does anybody have any changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. There's a letter from the chair of the Economic Development Council concerned about HB 631FN. I don't know what it is. Does anybody know if this is germane to tonight's discussion, or should we hold this off for another meeting?
I think it's the commercial,
Yes.
the multifamily being allowed in commercial.
But has that,
It's pertinent to one of the amendments.
The number 4.
okay, so we'll keep this letter to the side, and when we get to the amendment that it regards, we will enter it into the record as stated. So, I am going, Sylvia, are you prepared to move this along tonight, or how would you like to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay, the floor is yours.
All right. And so what you have before you are couple of documents. One with a highlighted first couple lines here. You'll see this is the proposed zoning amendments. This is our working copy, and this is the full language. So this is 8 pages, whereas what would be on the ballot is just 2 pages. So I just want you to know, because we are discussing, or you are, we'll be looking at the full version.
Okay.
So that's number 1. Second, you also have in front of you what it would look like in the zoning ordinance, so that you can see how that would be inserted. So I'm going to focus right now on the full language version, if that's okay.
Where's the 2-page one?
We don't have it.
You all, because of the discussion, I'm happy to share that and happy to show you if you're interested. Basically, it's the first paragraph of each one of these, plus a small statement like the full version is available at the planning department, something like that. Only a couple are left in their full version in this, because they are shorter in general. So happy for you to look at that.
So for the viewing audience and for the record, Sylvia, could you please, as you go through these one at a time, could you please state whether we are doing this to meet state law as it currently stands, or if we are doing this as our own action?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I'll let you start with number 1.
So number 1, and I'll just mention that, as you can see from the notes, the first 5 amendments are due to state requirements or mandates. So starting with number 1, this is, are you in favor of the adoption of amendment number 1 to the Goffstown zoning ordinance as proposed by the planning board to amend the definition of accessory dwelling units in the zoning glossary, as well as in section 5.2, clarifying the definitions for attached and detached ADUs by allowing detached accessory dwelling units as adopted and mandated by the New Hampshire House Bill 577. And then there's an explanation of that. So within the glossary section, the definition would be amended to include, and you can see the writing there, means a residential living unit that is located on a lot containing a single-family dwelling that provides independent living facilities for one or more persons, including provisions for sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation on the parcel of land as the principal dwelling unit it accompanies. Just for the record, I believe with Goffstown, it was just, used to be just attached. Now, this is because it's allowed by, or it's mandated by the state that detached are also allowed. That's what this is all about. So we're adding this definition for attached ADU. We're adding the definition for detached ADU. Then it goes into section 5.2 and amends some of the wording there that allows for attached and detached dwelling units. 5.2, point 2 also talks about the single-family dwelling unit, and again, it's mostly about this definition of attached and detached. And so that's what this first, all of that is that number 1, which in the short version you'll see is really just that first paragraph, what you'd see on the ballot, and it identifies again that if you want the full language, it's available at the planning department. I'm sure that you also have something online and all of that.
So Sylvia, they are numbered 1 through 8, is that the full
Yes.
area? And we're going to waive the reading of all 1 through 8 for tonight if I have no objection from other board members. But if anybody has any questions regarding this section regarding ADUs, and it's in red, numbers 1 through 8.
Question? This
Please.
is more on process. So we have scheduled a special meeting night tonight to address zoning changes, proposed zoning changes. We have members of the ZBA that are here today, and David Neiman is here, who worked on the open space issues, which Colleen will take us through at the end. However, I want to clarify with Sylvia as to, excuse me, before that, we also have tentatively scheduled for our next meeting on the 13th, second workshop on zoning amendments if needed. So we would only need a second workshop if changes were made to these that were material and needed to be noticed. And Joshua apparently has something to add in regards to that.
I think we should make changes because I think we can consolidate some of these.
Okay. I am not, from a select board person, I understand the concern about the length of these and consolidation. I think that issue is immaterial compared to what is being forced down our throats by the state this year. I think Sylvia's proposal on the 2 pages as to the summary, see full detail online in zoning ordinance, will be fine. We've done it with other things before. I am just fine with that. I would prefer to not touch these, let them go on as the paragraph with however we vote, and just be done with it, rather than wrangle these together in some sort of consolidation. Because basically, these changes are to make our statute look like what the state has mandated we have to do. Correct, Sylvia?
Correct.
All right.
That 1 through 5.
1 through 5.
1 through 5.
1
That's what I'm
through
talking about.
5. And mind you, I have already consolidated to try to make sure that, because they had been in a different order, and so now I've done quite a bit. I did review these with Derek. This is what he preferred. So I have done, I get wanting to consolidate. There's a lot here.
But as to 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
My position is tonight is there is no point in touching these. We can vote on them and be done with them, unless we have public
Are you
comment.
talking about the abbreviated version or on the full,
I
the
think
full
she's
language?
talking about the abbreviated version.
I am talking about both. We are going through this language, and Sylvia's going through it, but the purpose of having this hearing is to decide if we're going to make any changes to these proposals. 1 through 5 are simply proposals to change our ordinance to match the statutory requirements. How it appears on the warrant is somewhat a decision of the Board of Selectmen with our concurrence, because God knows what those ballots look like when everything gets printed on it from the planning board, and we don't have to do it.
I have an idea of what that ballot's gonna look like.
Yeah, okay, so I am just pointing out for purposes of 1 through 5, I don't really want to have a discussion on changing anything, because I think the proposal to present it in summary is a good one, and this is what the statute says we're supposed to do. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to get into whether this word should be like this or a paragraph, because I've read them, they make sense. I don't think there's much point in a lot of discussion on them.
The only thing that that strikes me, and I know we kind of talked about it last year, is that when we reference making a change because of New Hampshire House Bill 577 2025, we really should be referencing the statute that was amended by that House bill. So I think that at least this is better because it does say 2025, and so I don't think that I would want to change the context of any of this.
I don't consider that to be a material change.
Yeah, I
If
don't
you
think it's a
wanna
material change, but I think that, Sylvia, do you understand, like, so HB 577 amended RSA 674, whatever, to say we must allow, so I just think that those references, instead of being to the House bill, should be to the statute. But
because
that's just a
this-
suggestion, and
Yeah, Derek,
Yeah.
I understand. Derek, I believe, so I think Joanne first followed what has been done in the past,
yeah.
and Derek reviewed that. He made a little bit alteration compared to what was done in the past. So I'm just,
Okay.
going with that.
If that's how our town administrator prefers it, then
Because
that's fine.
if it's not as, sometimes we have zoning pieces that say, we're doing this in accordance with RSA blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. But this is not the case, because there's sort of a couple of different laws to it. So
Yep.
what happens is, I mean, I can look it up. My recollection is HB 577 was pretty,
It
bulky.
changed a few different,
and there
that's
were a
fine.
few different RSAs in it. So I think that's why for the zoning articles, they do it like this. That's why.
Okay, I'm good with that.
So articles, or at least these items here, okay? I'm gonna call them articles yet. These items, 1 through 5, number 4 deals with the letter that I think we got in front of us,
Okay?
okay?
So,
One,
so before you go any further, I'd just like to reference that letter. So this is a letter from Chet Bowen from the Economic Development Council, and I'll just be very brief without reading the full text, but it says basically, I am writing this letter as Chair of the Economic Development Council in Goffstown, New Hampshire. The council is concerned about HB 631 FN. While we understand the need for workforce housing, the growing need for aging in place within the home environment, and of course the challenges in finding affordable housing in general. The concern surrounds our main charge as the council. I will not read the whole letter, but if anybody wants to see the letter, it'll be in the record and available for review from the general public. And it's from Chet Bowen and EDC members Richard Bruno, Samantha Kearns, Oscar Aravello, Peter Georganis, the Select Board, Charles Birchmeyer, and Chris Barrett. And Sylvia has also acting economic development.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Please.
the last paragraph, I think, is essential to this group.
Okay, then I'll read the last paragraph. The Goffstown Planning Board Workshop Group is now considering the option to maintain a requirement that the first floor in a commercially zoned building would remain commercial. The EDC enthusiastically supports this potential resolution and hope that you also reach this conclusion. I appreciate your attention to this matter and hope you will consider the items listed within the letter. Thank you, Sylvia. So I'll return the floor back over to Joshua.
thank you, Chair. So if we did want to consolidate 1 through 5, the recommendation is do 1, 2, 3, and 5 and leave 4 on its own, was the recommendation.
Because of the change.
No, because I think Is it because 4 is relating to commercial uses, while the others are relating to the parking and accessory dwelling?
So what you're talking about is the two-page summary would be changed slightly so that 4 would be the entire change on the ballot.
Right. So should be left on its own as its purpose requiring retail on the ground floor of a multi-family project in the commercial district. New Hampshire House Bill 631 Laws of 2025, Chapter 201 mandates local zoning allow multifamily and commercial districts where infrastructure allows, but it does give local zoning the option of requiring retail or commercial on the ground floor. And it may be in our best interest as a planning board that we should make that a requirement while allowing the waiver process through the conditional use permit.
I agree.
It's kind of treating it how the SIF district used to be.
Which nobody follows because they go to the ZBA, get a variance, and then we're stuck with housing through the whole thing.
Yeah, is that,
Well,
But
this
Um,
one
they
we're
do the
saying would be
CUP.
conditional use permit, so it'd be
Well.
this board.
Or they'll come here for it again.
it also suggests that adequate infrastructure for roads, water, and sewage are available to support the development. So if we're jumping to number 4, it does provide a couple caveats
That'll be next year's bill.
that are allowed within this House
no,
bill.
understood. Okay.
So if we wanted to simplify, because right now we're looking at 17 plus articles between the election, these items, and also everything else that sits underneath the sun.
As much as I like to keep the ballot small, I don't know that we should always make sure, consider that whatever was written in the ballot really does reflect what's going on with the amendment to the zoning article. And the state has made it so convoluted that if this board decides on the longer version, if it's in the best interest of the voters to be able to read the longer version or not, or the abbreviated version, so. Is everyone on board with the abbreviated version of number 1, or is that?
On board.
Abbreviated version of number 1?
I'm on board.
Yes.
When you say the abbreviated version. of
Your
number 1.
short one
Oh,
there.
you've got the short, which is basically the first
The first
paragraph with a,
With
So-
a reference to where voters can see it.
So we-
It will be
Yeah.
online.
I'd like to narrow this discussion some, so let's start with number 1 on the abbreviated version for the town ballot that everybody has a copy in front of them. We'll start down with David, and we'll work our way around the room.
Just, Chair, not everybody
Sure.
has a copy of the short version.
Oh, I thought you...
It's a-
No.
No,
Where's these
yeah.
copies?
It's basically the
I
first
handed you
paragraph.
Sylvia's copy so
I'm
you can see
sorry.
it.
I guess in the planning department, we thought the group, because this is a working discussion, we thought you all wanted to mostly just determine if the full version was what you wanted. That's why we,
So we really can't discuss the abbreviated version because not
Right,
everybody has
it's the
copies.
first paragraph.
Oh, it's just the first
Yes.
paragraph?
it's basically the first paragraph.
Okay,
And you
so-
have that additional sentence of where you can find the full.
Okay, so,
Maybe you can read out that sentence, sir.
The last sentence of paragraph 1.
note the full language available at the Goffstown Planning Department upon request. It should say is available, not, never mind. It's just sentence structure.
I just have a question. If you can just follow up, and wouldn't view it to be a material change. I think in the past it's been available online.
Yes, I believe, I just don't know how the
Okay,
town
so-
advertises and, yeah.
Okay. So if it could be online rather than available at town hall upon request.
If
Or
it's,
end.
if you would like, I can run up to the planning department, copy this thing, and be down here in about 5
That
minutes.
sounds awesome. Let's do
Yes.
that.
So,
Pass it
make
back
copies
to
for
her.
4 more people in the audience as well, because they're here to discuss this as well.
Thank you,
So
Sylvia.
what's the head count, Sylvia? Sylvia? What's the head count? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you're 13.
Yeah.
Well, you already have one, so you have 13 in your
You
hand.
should call it 14. Nobody likes it.
Make it 12.
12, yeah.
So this thing with number 4.
But can we go through this one by one?
Yeah, we're not jumping. That's why I wanted to back up to
This
number
will
1.
get insane.
So, number one, Sylvia's not here to help us, but we can discuss it without her. Anybody have any issues with the way number one is worded? We're just going to use the top paragraph, and underneath it, it'll say full text is available from the planning department.
Right, and if you look at the zoning ordinance that's provided, you can see
The
she
updates.
has not printed out the entire zoning ordinance, but the pages that would be changed. So,
Well, I would assume whatever is in the,
Yeah,
is the red that changes
yeah,
the
the red
language or
line, the
changes?
red line of full
Is
language.
this red line also going to be included
Yep,
in there?
that's added to the definitions.
So anything that's red gets added to
Yep.
and anything that's stricken is removed. Pretty simple. So why don't we move on to, now, we have members of the zoning board here, and I don't know who the other gentlemen are, but do we want to include them in our workshop discussion as they want to relate to these topics, or do we want to do it in public comment? Barbara, I'll ask for an opinion.
I think we have a joint meeting going, because do we have a quorum at the ZBA here or not?
Two elected, one alternate.
So is it a
Is that class, no, four's a quorum, right?
How many are on the ZBA? I forget, 5, right? So.
Technically, you're a quorum. yeah.
This was, I think it was not posted as a joint meeting, it's a workshop with them, it's just a workshop, so I think they can just participate in it.
Well, they
But,
could
I
also,
mean-
they could participate as private citizens and not represent the opinion of the zoning board of adjustment. And that, or is that
I think we can do it
incorrectly
either
stated?
way. I guess my point would be, I don't know why we would have any discussion on number 1.
Yeah.
Because the entire purpose of number 1 is to put the language in that the state has mandated occur. So I'm not in favor of the changes.
But we have
The
no
state
latitude
didn't
to.
ask us about it, our state reps didn't ask us about it. So
It's a law. Wait.
it is what it is. I have no intention of voting for it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic.
I think the only thing for discussion is if somebody sees something in here that's like a typographical error, if you see something that
Exactly,
just is
that's
like
it.
a.
Just to
because we can't-
contain the discussion.
Because the content
Thank you.
we're stuck with by state law.
Right.
So,
I don't want to get into a discussion about whether we should do detached or single-family or separate, because the law has mandated this language.
it's been decided for us.
But we will be here until 2 a.m.
The only thing I'd point out, and Sylvia, this is more of just a, so on the zoning version,
Yes.
the detached ADU, it looks like it's struck through the amended 7-125 per HB. Like, I think that, I don't think that should have been strike through. I think how you have it.
Where are you?
I'm just showing her on what's
Well,
gonna be in the
this.
actual ordinance.
Underneath the detached?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why that is
Okay.
either.
I'd like to,
It's correct on the
What
full
page are
version.
you on?
It's just,
don't worry about it.
yeah, it's just for Sylvia to.
I'd like
yeah.
to follow up on what I just heard from Barbara. I want this meeting concluded by 9 o'clock tonight. I don't care how fast we have to go, but I do not want to be here after 9 o'clock.
Agree.
So we're not gonna belabor points, we're not gonna drag it through the mud, we're gonna get this meeting over with. So, number 1, you all have your abbreviated versions for the town ballot. Board members, we'll start with David, if you're opposed or agree with the abbreviated version. Dave?
I agree, simply because it presents a clear case to the voters. There's zoning changes that are mandated by state law.
Barbara, you already said so. Tim?
I agree.
Colleen?
Yep, fine.
I also agree with the abbreviated version. Josh? Joshua? Let's call you Josh.
It's fine. You call me whatever.
Ooh,
I am, yes, I'm okay with the abbreviated version.
And Phil?
We're talking
I'm fine.
So abbreviated versions are okay in number 1. So let's look at number 2 now,
Tim,
please.
one question about all of these, since 1 through 5 are mandated state changes. And Sylvia, this is more of a question. Is there any wording that we should add to all of these that basically state that the town is required to follow these regardless, whether or not people vote for yes or no on them.
Yeah, that's why they.
Well, isn't that on the note at the very top of the page there?
That-
Could we include that in our, as above, number 1 through?
Well, it says in the wording, is adopted and mandated by New Hampshire.
No, it says right here, note, amendments 1 through 5 are based on new state requirements / mandates, which is what Josh.
I don't know that you
was
can put
asking.
that on the warrant.
Well, I ask because we're asking if people are in favor of adopting when we have no choice but to adopt.
Well, they need to vote to adopt or not adopt, but even if they don't adopt it, we are still following the law.
We are still required by law to follow
Yeah.
it, so I just want to state that out loud.
Yeah.
So I will just state out loud that I will be voting against it. I tried multiple times, multiple queries to various individuals, including SNHP, to find out what happens if we do not put these on the ballot because it is required by state law. And you would not believe it to save your life, but I couldn't get a straight answer out of an attorney anywhere. And I'm sick of it. And these amendments, I don't think any of these amendments this board would be in favor of if they were proposed to us in front of us. And we're going to have to follow them anyways. And what this exercise does, it's essentially in my opinion, a sort of bait and switch from presenting a discussion about the subject matter to the voters to saying, oh, here's what the state requires you to do. Look, your planning board recommended it, so people vote for it, and then the state gets to say, everybody voted for it. All the towns adopted it, we just did what the people wanted. I'm not playing the game. I'm voting against all of these. I don't think
We
they.
can all, everybody here can vote against them, but the legality of putting it on it or not putting it on it.
Nobody
is the
answered the
unanswered
question. Nobody answered the question as to why we are wasting the paper, the time, the ink, the counting to do this when state law requires it to be done. If state law mandates that the police set something up as far as change a law or set a speed limit in a particular way, we're not bringing it to a town vote. It gets done.
What do we have to do to include the state language in our zoning manual? Just put it in? Or do we have to have a vote on it to put it in?
So that's what I heard, is that we have to have a vote to change our documentation.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't get a clear answer on that either.
Nobody will answer that question. There's absolutely no reason for it. At this point, this is it's a procedural change.
So, Barbara, you would categorize these as administrative changes approved by the board and it doesn't go to the voters?
I would characterize these as if an application came in front of us with any of these issues as part of the plan before this board or the zoning board, our boards would be required to administrate the law as it stands, not necessarily in our zoning ordinance. And that continues the deception, because the state is the one who gave us the power to adopt zoning ordinances.
Unless the words are in the document, how do the applicants know what to build or not build?
So,
I'm not voting for it.
so I don't want to belabor it, Tim, but I would be more apt to put wording in our zoning documentation that states that we are allowed to update the document based upon state laws.
And that's what should have been going on in all of these. It is brought up at the State House. They don't do it, and I think it's because this is the charade that goes on with these.
Because I'm with you too, Barbara. Like, I don't think that we should be voting for it if we didn't actually push it.
So do we have the authority to just adopt these and put them into our zoning because they are codified in state law?
No.
No, we can't change the zoning ordinance, but it's a legal requirement, so it would be part of the plan application.
But we could get the town to say that we could make changes to the zoning documentation if state law requires it.
So state law already supersedes zoning, so whether we
Right.
have something written in the ordinance or not, we're required to follow state law. So our zoning could be in conflict, and it just means then that it's more of a administrative challenge for folks who are doing things in the town of Goffstown to realize that though our ordinance says this, state law says that, state law takes precedent. So I understand your point, though. If we don't think that this is right for Goffstown, there's nothing that's mandating
But
us.
would we be, could we be held harm if we don't have it in our regulations? And someone just innocently searches our zoning regulations to do something, they find that it's not there, they don't do it, could they come back at us legally and say, well, how come it's not in your regulations, it's codified in state law, why don't you have it in your regs?
First of all, the municipality, for good faith effort, has immunity up that is beyond comprehension, to the point where recently there's been a case against Goffstown where there was clear negligence and there was no liability found.
Okay. Well,
So
I'm just
I
trying to-
have thought about that, and I do think it would be incumbent upon board members of both boards to be aware of the state law, and anybody who has an applicant will be aware of it. But I think to recommend to the voters that we think these changes are appropriate is ridiculous. I've made the effort. I mean, there's alternative language that could have been put in. Nobody would answer, and they're making every community in the state go through this exercise for something that they decided without, frankly, any input from the community. So I'm like, no.
It'd be nice to know if any other community was doing, considering the same action that you're talking about.
So what's our authority to, we're just voting on these, we're not,
But what we're talking about tonight is if we were to approve all 8 bullet points, then we do not need a second voting workshop, zoning workshop, because we didn't change any text in a material way.
so would it be appropriate to be like, remove the first 5 and do a singular point that the planning board recommends they be allowed to update the bylaws instead of moving forward 1 through 5, a singular point like that, like Josh and Barbara were talking. You know, because that makes sense to me.
Number 4 is a little iffy, because that has nuance that is not a requirement that you've
We
heard
have some
from.
leverage on that one.
You've heard from Economic Development Committee, they prefer that you add those nuances. So that's one that you want to sort of kind of put
A
aside.
standalone.
Yeah.
The other way, and I've not seen this, so, but I'll throw it out on the table since you all are having this conversation. When you vote to support this zoning amendment, I wonder, can you say the planning board supports it because it's a mandate from the state? Just so that there's a caveat. So I don't know.
That's not how it shows up on the ballot. It says,
It can't.
it says, here's a vote.
Planning board
It
vote.
is recommended, not recommended, and with the actual vote count. That, we've been through that before as to what can go in the ballot.
I
That's
see.
it.
But I would be okay with amending if we grouped 1 through 3 and add 5 and say, we are in support of updating the zoning regulations in accordance to mandated laws put forth, and are requesting at the same time to be able to do this in the future without a vote.
Why don't we just do it? Why don't we just do it? Who's
I would
gonna
say-
come, the
So-
state zoning police?
So I mean, the only way that we can amend, that the town can amend its zoning ordinance is by vote at town meeting. So unless we were to,
We can't just change them
We
ourselves.
can make an attachment to the zoning ordinance reflecting current statutory change. We can make an attachment.
But who came up with these?
So we can make an attachment,
Sure, why not?
but you still have to have that attachment voted on.
Why? If you want it there for informational purposes, you can say, see RSA 577, call your state reps at this number, and,
No, that's not really where we're going.
Bruce, do you have your ordinance, I see, like, is there in the administration section, like a reference that is superseded by any state law?
It's backwards because the
Sorry,
state
yeah.
requirements are less restrictive
Oh,
than ours. What ours states is the usual if there's a conflict, use the most restrictive, blah, 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 blah. It's under applicability.
Before you proceed, procedurally, we should have you give your name for the record.
Bruce Buttrick,
We're going to start with David Neiman and put all you on the record right now so we know who you are and who you're here representing. David,
David Neiman, Youngstown Conservation Commission.
thank you.
Glenn Stewart, member of the ZBA.
Bruce Buttrick, member of the ZBA, but not speaking for the ZBA.
And I would also, I'm here in an individual capacity also.
Charlie Farley here as an individual capacity as a
Thank you. So Bruce, please continue.
So we do in our zoning ordinance, the very beginning general provisions, applicability 1.2.2, relationship to other laws, ordinances, and regulations. Whenever the provisions of the ordinance, and the zoning ordinance, conflict with other ordinance, statute, or rule, the more restrictive or the higher standard shall apply. In the event of any conflict between any provisions of the ordinance with other provisions of the ordinance, the more restrictive or higher standard shall apply. So basically, it's always said that if you have a conflict with state and yours, the higher one always, most restrictive always applies.
No, wait a minute. Now, isn't our zoning requiring ADUs more restrictive than the state standard right now?
Correct.
So we can't fall to that language.
Correct. That's what
Right, and
I'm
we're not
saying.
proposing to change it, and it's going to stay in the ordinance. I'm telling you, it doesn't mean a damn.
It's coming pushed down from above, negating ours.
The language of the most restrictive is always problematic in zoning because when you go to what use is more restrictive, it depends on your perspective. What, you know, the
I'd say
most restrictive
in
language
the
in
case of ADUs,
zoning.
we were more restrictive because we did not
Allow-
permit detached.
Right, right.
So we were more restrictive than the present state law.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please, so
I understand this
dilemma.
dilemma, but to be clean, I think I hear what Colleen is saying, and to be clear for the voter, I think the way we've proposed this is, it may be frustrating for some, but it's clean and it's understandable, so that if anyone who's maybe watching, because it is riveting.
It's like our sewer committee
We've had a
meeting.
couple good
Thank
things.
you
Budget
for
committee's
laughing.
meeting tonight,
But-
so no one's watching this over there.
But I mean, if someone comes in, then they're spelled out, and we can explain it, because I don't want to give Patty and the gals up there more work, because someone says, what are you doing? What are you talking about? We don't want that, you know? We want people calm and collected, and, okay, I see what you've done here, and this does that.
So based on Sylvia's comments, I think we should include the shortened versions for the town ballot and then authorize Barbara to vote no on everything she wants to vote no on. And then at least get the information into the zoning manual so that it's there for people to read.
I will just point out that it is ridiculous requirement.
Okay.
Nobody could tell me about it. Supposedly, the statute says you can't change a zoning ordinance without a vote of the people, and the state does it anyways. So which is the more restrictive of those two laws?
I mean, that was pretty convincing. I'm wondering why we're
Well,
supporting.
you used to be in the legislature, it's time for you to get your seat back.
I had this argument on
To
more than
Sylvia's
one
point, I
occasion.
think that if we need to put it on the ballot, this is the cleanest way to put it on the ballot,
All
and
right,
each
so
member
we're
of the
gonna-
board can decide if they want to vote to recommend.
I'm stating right now that we're going to move forward with the abbreviated versions,
Yeah,
and we're going to
okay.
continue to discuss them individually. We all seem to be in favor of number one. Let's
Okay.
move on to number two. Is the abbreviated version for number two with the full language available to be included underneath it? And to go back to Joshua's request, could we add after the statement about the full language, this amendment is in response to a current state law?
The only reason
Or something to that
Derek
effect?
Hornet's not having a heart attack right now is because he's sure he's at budget.
He is a budget, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can have a
But-
heart attack. We got to do what we got to do our thing here.
I
and
don't
do it
think that
according
would
to-
be approved.
But
Mr.
each
Chair.
of these say is mandated
I've
by
had one, I
state
know
law.
what it's like. Had two, actually, so.
Yes,
Mr.
Sylvia.
Chair, if I may, under 1 through 5, you'll see for each of them that they all specify as adopted and mandated by whatever the House bill is for the...
Okay, you're good then, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we don't have to add it, it's there. Okay, so number 2, does anybody have a problem with the abbreviated version for number 2? We'll start with Dave and go around the room again.
I'm going to read it, so you weren't going to pass me.
You better start catching up with us, because we're going to get this done tonight, not why wait for you to read them. Barbara?
No,
No. Tim?
no problem with it.
No problem with it, okay.
Yeah, no
Yeah, I'm
issue
fine
with
with
that.
I'm okay with it. Joshua?
I'm okay.
I know you want abbreviation. Phil? Okay, so number 2 appears to be okay with no changes to the language. Number 3,
It needs to be changed.
Yeah.
okay, what are we changing?
It's missing, are you in favor? It just says ordinance.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's not as to the
That's not a
change.
material change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're missing,
Yeah.
are you in favor?
yeah. It's in the long version,
Yeah.
so we'll fix that. I don't know why that line got dropped, but...
So let's go to the long version, which is second page. It starts with,
Are you in favor?
are you in favor of adoption amendment number 3? So will it read only the first paragraph, Sylvia? With the question mark?
With that note.
With the note after?
The note, the intent of this amendment is to remove the basement, stairwell, and elevator shafts from the
Right.
gross floor area, full language, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so,
What if the basement's finished?
This is
Discount.
language directly
So you can double
from,
the size of
I
your
know, I
ADU by
read it.
finishing the
It made no
basement?
sense to me.
well, I guess if the
Discount.
basement's finished, it doesn't count.
Like,
Not our problem.
it's
Go to
as
con-
adopted
Multiple
and mandated.
levels of
Okay.
basement, like just.
So,
Well, Mr. Chair, it says, or attics not, well, it does not include cellars, enclosed porches, or attics not used
Oh,
for
wait.
human occupancy. So
It
if the
removes-
basement is occupied, then it's part of the square footage. If it's not, then
Yeah.
it's not.
No,
Alright.
those, basements and stairwells and elevator shafts are removed, period.
But it does say, including areas used for human occupancy. So if the basement's finished and people can occupy it, it wouldn't apply to this.
oh, God, the basement would not be excluded.
Then the basement wouldn't be excluded.
Well,
but that's crossed out in the.
Yeah, it's,
Well,
So it says used for human occupancy in, and then we
But
cross
then it
out
goes to
basement.
cellars in the following sentence, using two different terms, basement and cellar.
How's the law written?
That is a good point. The word cellars shouldn't even be in there because it's contradictory to the word basement because people will think it's two different things.
How's the law written?
I mean, we all call under the house our cellar, but some people call it the basement. It's the same word.
yeah, but it's a root cellar, it's different.
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna live in
It's
it.
the wine cellar, you can't live in.
Well,
You most certainly could live in a
think I
wine
could.
cellar. What are you talking
until the
about?
wine ran out.
And if there's a root cellar next door, it wouldn't have
There
to
you
go
go.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with the comment that we have a contradiction between the word basement and cellar.
You have it defined, basement's defined in the terms, cellars not even in.
So we just change that one word, that's not a material.
Oh, you wouldn't want to do it if Concord didn't do it? Oh, this would do it if Concord did.
Well, unless you want to add the word root and call it a root cellar, and that gets rid of that thing, Phil.
Wine cellar.
No.
Oh.
I don't know, we gotta figure that out, because it's.
Hold on.
Or leave it go
I'm
for another
looking at
year.
it now to try to see what it says.
Oh, the bill?
Let it go for
Yeah, I'm
another
looking
year
at
and
it
fix it
too.
next year.
so the gross
So we can
floor
count on that.
area is the sum of the areas of several floors of the building, including areas for human occupancy in attics and penthouses is measured, so it does not include cellars unenclosed. So, I mean, it's consistent the way it's written. It's saying that your gross floor area does not include that human occupancy area in basements. So it's written properly, but you're right, it means that we're leaving out all of the basement area, whether it's built for occupancy or not. It can't be
Says
counted.
limitation shall exclude below-grade areas from the calculation of the FAR for construction projects.
Yeah,
Which is
and,
basements
and
and
this,
cellars.
and this is clean, this does that, it just,
All right, leave it alone then, we'll fix it next year.
So why was the last sentence crossed out? Like, why would we leave that to interpretation or each later argument?
It shall include the horizontal area of each floor level devoted to stairwell and elevator shafts?
Right, is that or not, is it part of the gross area or not?
No, it wouldn't be,
And-
because
and-
it's
and the
it's
sen-
removed.
So the first sentence of the second paragraph refers to space that is included, and the
Yep.
second is what's not. And the stairwell and elevator shafts should be in one of those two sentences.
Yeah.
So what it says, okay, before we get to the elevator shafts, when it says below-grade areas means any part of the building that is entirely or partially below ground, including basements, cellars, and sublevels.
Oh, they're both in there. Well, leaving it, that's good.
Well, and it includes a third, sublevels.
Bomb
It's
shelters.
like a
double basement?
Those are bomb shelters.
Do not see anything about stairwells in here.
And, you know, not that you can tell it, but this is supposed to apply to new construction projects. And the floor area ratio is what they're looking at, and they want to be able to exclude all those from developers'
Calculation.
calculations.
Because they're really
it's-
not usable spaces for occupancy.
No, this is new construction. This is to get the thing built and approved and paid for. It doesn't mean they're not suitable for,
It does say new construction all through.
yeah, it's all new construction.
What are we doing with 3?
If the law doesn't say that
Sponsored by our
we-
senator, by the way.
that we have to exclude, like, so my question is, like, why are we striking the stairwell and elevator shafts? If that's really just about the basement and cellar areas, then I agree that striking that last sentence
That was a wrong thing.
is maybe the wrong thing, because it leaves some ambiguity in terms of if that's part of the gross floor area or not. So if we keep that sentence in, then stairwells are part of the gross floor area calculation, so it adds that square footage. And then if the law doesn't exempt that, the way that it exempts basements, then I think we should leave that last sentence.
It does exempt them.
Okay, what Josh just said, or what Joshua just said was that it was.
It excludes the sub-areas.
It excludes the sub areas, but not the,
Not,
The
it doesn't say anything
stairwell.
about,
I think
About-
our ordinance previously did, right? That's where that's coming from.
it doesn't say
Is
anything
that,
about.
is that language that's, the floor areas gross from their form, is that all directly out of the Senate bill? Is that language from them, or is that our language amended to try to tidy up what they said?
I think it's tidying up
I
theirs.
believe the latter. This is one that I didn't question from Joanne, I just put it in because
Okay.
I just felt like, you know, in reviewing these, I didn't have the kind of conversation you all are having right now, so.
All right, well, that, we understand that, so,
God, they're taking away height limitations too in this bill.
like building.
Like total building height?
Huh?
Total building height?
To maximize height potential for new construction, municipalities shall review and if necessary revise height limitations to align with the goals of this subdivision.
So now our ADUs have 12-foot ceilings?
Apparently they can. I don't have any idea what it means, and I'm sure most of them don't either, because none of them deal with
stories.
we're
this.
bogging down here.
I know.
Getting bogged down here, folks.
I think that, let's just, as it is, leave it. I don't like it. I don't know that I would want to recommend it to people, but because
Well, we
this is
can,
what's.
we'll have a second
yeah.
public hearing if you have to, and we'll get this amended with staff before the second public hearing.
It does, Sylvia, it does appear that this is doing things that are not in the bill.
I'll take a look at
And my
this
guess
closer.
is there's something from NHMA on this that
Yeah.
drove this
Yeah,
change.
you're right.
Yes,
so-
I believe so.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
there definitely are not.
So we're gonna assume that number
So they
3
look at
needs
3.
to be worked on?
Yes.
That's fine, but I'm also okay with the summary version of that.
I'm okay with the summary version. I think it's the online
Yeah.
information needs to be
Yep.
updated.
Yeah.
So so are we saying the summary version stays?
Well, a summary version of it
Is
is...
the first
is
paragraph
good.
only?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we just need to clarify the note if the intent is to remove the basement.
All right, so let's go around it, start
Yeah.
with, begin with David. Are we okay with the summary version number 3, David?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Bill?
We're going to change it to be the same format, starting with are you in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're doing that.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. So number 3, and a side note, number 3 may come up in this second workshop if we're gonna change any of the language. So we are gonna have to have a second workshop.
We're hearing it.
Yep.
So
But we can only deal with the ones that are changes.
Yeah.
So Sylvia, you'll,
I'm going to take a look at this.
thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go to number 4, which is what EDC was discussing with us. What are we doing with that? We're gonna vote to adopt the requirement for approved commercial uses on the ground floor. Put into the zoning change. Len, speak up.
If I can be heard on this, and Barbara's comments about conditional use permits to the contrary before, one of the things the ZBA has tried to do over the years is preserve what commercial area we've got in town. I'm just wondering where the conditional use language in the proposal comes, because it's not in the bill. There's no mention of allowing by conditional use permits. It says municipality may require all available ground floor space or a percentage thereof to be dedicated to retail or similar uses. I think if you get into the conditional use permit question, you're going to run into some abysmal projects, and without naming names, shall we say that the one next to the Shell station being the one that I can think of as a perfect example of that. That was presented as a mixed use to the ZBA. It was rejected. It was appealed, it came back from Housing Appeals. They gave us no option but to do it. You had to consider the commercial area around it. Of course, there's no connection between that development now and the commercial area next. You got a dirt road going up to the cell tower is the only thing that's coming off the end of Atro Road. I think, and I would be very strongly in support of the EDC's position, that we need to maintain it as commercial. Because you're going to come in, you're going to get, I've heard a lot of them over my years on the ZBA, these stories, we got in the market at the wrong time, we can't sell it as commercial. And ultimately, I don't really want Mass Road to end up looking like Front Street, Route 3A going up, or the hooks at Walmart there where it's apartment row, but you've got developers, it's a prime target. It's got the water, it's got the sewer, it's got lower infrastructure development costs than other projects. I just think that the conditional use part should come out, and we should maintain a requirement for commercial as part of these projects.
So, I think along some of those lines, it does require in the provision of the bill that municipalities must ensure adequate infrastructure like roads and sewage systems be available to support these mixed-use developments. There is exceptions. The bill does not apply to areas where industrial and manufacturing activities create incompatibilities and impacts. As far as the ground floor retail is concerned, it allows municipalities to require a portion of the ground floor space be dedicated to retail or similar uses. Adaptive reuse provides exemptions from setback, height, and frontage requirements for buildings being converted to residential use as long as overall building dimensions do not change. And limitations on municipalities strips some traditional municipality authority over zoning, such as the ability to require public hearings or variances for these projects.
Thank you, legislature.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please speak up.
So the question, where does this come from? You can blame me. So, and here's why. So I been to the last 2 Economic Development Committee meetings, and where we went over this, let's make sure that ground floor is commercial. But in speaking with Derek and thinking about how projects get financed and all this, there was a lot of concern, one, that not everything fits in one size, you know, not that whole argument. I can't think of every commercial aspect and instance in town, obviously. I don't know Goffstown very well, but I just know in the communities I've been in, not all fits one size. So this provides the planning board the power to say, depending on what is in front of you, all right, we want that first floor to be commercial, but if it doesn't work in this situation, if there's a compatibility issue or whatever the issue is, you have the power to say, well, apply for the conditional use permit. If it, you must have criteria for that. If it meets the criteria, then you can, you know, approve it based on a conditional use permit. But it gives you that leeway, that flexibility.
So, Sylvia, you're stating this by default would make it so that all these buildings, if they're multi-floor, whatever, would require it to be first floor is commercial, and then if they wanted to have it residential, they would have to then come and apply for a conditional use.
That's what.
Yeah,
And
I'm completely okay with that because I think that we need more commercial here in the town as well.
But when you open up the door for a conditional use permit, you open up the door, it's already going to be in line with the statute. If the statute says,
It's in line with statute.
but it would be, we would make the decision whether the residential aspect would fit or not, instead of the statute making the
for
decision.
first floor, for just that
I
first floor.
understand, yeah, I'm there with you. So the statute says, and it's vague, who decides which part of it is residential, which part of the first floor is commercial. What we're trying to do is create it so that you have to have grounds with it through a conditional use permit. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So I think that works, actually.
Yeah, I think it works too.
Because the other option is if we don't allow it by conditional use permit to go from commercial to residential, then it would be basically by variance. We could say that you are required to have first floor commercial, and then it's going to the ZBA, and then we get the issue of the ZBA is kind of
Then
seeing
are
something
they-
that's not a complete application with all the site issues and all the traffic analysis and everything that we're seeing when we review a conditional use
I
permit.
don't know what the status of the Housing Appeals Board is at this time, but that's a fine place to challenge our decision as well. All right, so does anybody want to change number 4? Or do you want to, do we have to include language about the conditional, or is that what you're stating in the note, Sylvia?
Let's see.
So the
Let's see,
note states that, except where the planning board grants a conditional use
Yes.
permit.
Why would we put that language in there? That's the true for anything. Anybody can come in and request, I mean, granted, we're supposed to have it checked off, but people come in and request a waiver to the rules all the time, in one way or another. And there's nothing in this statute that says we have to provide it. The statute, as approved and signed, says a municipality may require all available ground floor space or a percentage thereof to be dedicated to retail or similar use.
But if we require it, not by conditional, so right now we're requiring it, but by conditional use permit, you can
Control
request,
it.
the planning board can grant relief. If we don't include that by conditional use permit, the planning board can grant relief, then they're gonna request a variance from the ZBA, and I don't mean to point to you guys, just happen to be the audience. Then they're going to the ZBA for a variance, whereas when it's coming to us for a conditional use permit,
Then we have to deal with it.
then we're dealing with it, we can't, blame someone else if it gets granted, but we also have the benefit that we typically have a traffic study, we have an engineered plan, we have a lot more than what the ZBA has. and they're
Somebody
relying
give
on.
me an example of a request for residential in where retail commercial has been required that hasn't been granted in a community around here in one of these multi-use structures. Come up with one. Doesn't happen.
I think what we need to be doing is holding people accountable to our conditional use permit criteria, and if they don't meet the criteria, denying the conditional use permit.
The conditional use permits and variances go down a slope of language manipulation with facts that are seldom verified by neutral third parties and allow it to occur.
Bruce?
Mr. Chair, our definition of the commercial zone in the zoning ordinance, the last sentence, residential uses are not allowed in this district except as part of a mixed-use project. So currently, we have a bit of an out to allow residential in a commercial building or zone, but only if it's a mixed-use project, which would have to go through a planning board process. And I understand that state law is telling us, hey, you have to allow multifamily residential in commercial zones. So we're somewhat there currently as we're written, but we need to codify it to satisfy the state to say we have to maintain some commercial, or allowing the multifamily, we have to allow some of the commercial, which I would favor kind of striking that conditional use permit, because our zoning ordinance says if you have mixed, you've got to go and do a mixed project. It's going to be in front of the planning board, right? I mean, just by the application. But my other concern is the other commercial zone that we have, commercial industrial flex zone. Does this state statute apply there too?
Commercials, the word commercial's in it, I assume it does.
So we might have to look at that definition a little bit.
Huh?
And
Well, I don't think this legislature defined between commercial
Well,
and
it did
flex.
say it
That's-
doesn't
and I'll
cover
give you
industrial
briefly
though.
But that's not
what we're
industrial.
calling that zone, the CIFC
FC.
zone established to provide for larger scale business parks, commercial service, light industrial, and similar uses in areas where access is available from the arterial and collector streets. The CIFC's district is intended to encourage commercial, industrial, and service uses for the mutual advantage of both consumers and merchants, thus promoting public convenience and prosperity. Residential uses are not allowed in the commercial industrial flex zone.
Well, it sounds like an answer for the courts.
It could be in trouble now.
that's why we should have spoken no one.
Because somebody might come into that zone and say, hey, it's commercial, I want to do multifamily.
It doesn't apply to industrial, so I think that one's gray enough that it would not apply.
Yeah.
If
I
that
think
was
you
an
have
industrial
just
use.
the commercial district, I think that one's clear,
I'm just saying, we have gray water here. We have some gray water.
definitely.
Can I add to the water pollution? All right, the last provision of the past statute, I don't think is addressed by anything that we're being told we have to put on the warrant, which says a municipality shall provide an exemption. Tell me what an exemption is in planning. Clearly, nobody at the State House had any idea, because we don't have exemptions. Any requirement regarding setbacks, height, or frontage of a building being converted to a multifamily or mixed use through adaptive reuse, provided that the building's floor area, height, and setbacks do not change.
So
Well, that means-
non-conforming structure.
That means build within the building that's there.
Regardless of what the current use is and your conversion to residential.
That's pretty clear to me.
Not in any of this. I bet NHMA didn't include that in the recommended language. So I'm just pointing that out. If we're so worried about people knowing what is required or not required when they look at our zoning ordinance, that's nowhere. The exemption.
Did we ever make a reference to review the state statute if you want the full text for the, have we ever done that before in our zoning? Refer to the state statute and read the state statute so we don't have to write it all into our zoning amendment? Well, amendment?
Not so far, but maybe
I think
that's an
that might be
option.
where we're going.
That way it
Let's
puts
just
it
get
off
rid
on
of the
the.
whole thing.
The
State
full,
tells
the
us
full
to.
text
Yeah,
is available from the state of New Hampshire, and just cite the RSA,
I like that.
instead of us putting it, and having another
Having staff time.
another 14 pages added to the 75-page book already.
Exactly.
Let the full text be. So maybe on that one, Sylvia, I think we're going to have that language somehow inserted into this number 4.
Which language, the exemption?
The exemption to read the state, the full.
What does it mean, though?
Is this?
I don't know what it means, but
is
at least
this-
we,
So we're not-
at
is
least
that
we
House
steered
Bill-
people to the final answer.
If we don't own it,
Is
It's
that
on there.
House Bill 631, Barbara?
Yes.
I agree.
Well, you've already made it mandated by New Hampshire House Bill 631 in the third paragraph, statement, sentence, that's the word. Phil?
The only concern I have with that, though, if you put something in like that, because my understanding of the zoning ordinance, if there's any they go to the ZBA for an interpretation, so wouldn't they be going to the ZBA to interpret it?
House Bill 631, that's what they're
No,
going
the
to do.
exemption, what is it?
Well, that's the state language, we can't change that, we have to work within their parameters, and
They have special exceptions. They don't have exemptions.
like Barbara
No,
said,
so
they don't.
the
they
definition-
don't-
Special
So if an
exemptions,
exemption
too.
doesn't exist, then we can't, that's not a
We
thing,
can't
so we can't do
adjudicate
it.
it,
so
let them
we're
go
fine.
figure it out. All right.
I do think, so for number 4, is the abbreviated version written for the town ballot. The end of this saying that the intent of this amendment is to provide additional flexibility and allowances for multifamily housing. Like, no, the intent of this is for the town to
To meet the
comply
state
with
law.
state
Right,
statute,
yes,
with
absolutely.
state
So
law.
do you want to get rid of that whole
while-
sentence?
Yeah, I do.
Strike that sentence?
Well, I think we still need to clarify the intent, and I think the intent is to comply with state law while maintaining a requirement for commercial use in commercial zones. Isn't that what we're trying to accomplish here?
I think that's a good idea, but I think you need to send Sylvia the statement you just made so she can add it in for the number 4,
Right.
repair the language.
We're
At the,
in,
at the bottom
The
of
bottom
number
of
4,
the
the
page.
last sentence, that's like the
oh,
intent.
the intent,
Yeah,
okay, the
gone.
intent of this amendment is to get rid of all that.
What is?
Is to comply with HB 631 while still retaining the requirement for commercial use in the commercial zone.
Perfect.
Why don't you put that same phrase in each one of these amendments?
Yeah, that
Because
the-
they're not all commercial zone
Well,
ones.
no,
Well, no,
but
but
like,
the
The intent
the
is,
intent of
yeah, the
this,
intent is
with.
comply with HB.
yeah. So in all the.
Can you write
Yeah,
that?
but
down?
Most
Yeah,
of them
I
do
can
say
write that.
that.
and send it to you.
They do say it, mandated by New Hampshire House Bill 577 on
Yeah.
number 2.
Yeah, they
Mandated
do.
by House Bill
Yeah, actually, it's just
577 on
in a
number
It's
1.
just a different format, but it's there.
Now, what's
So I guess is that really necessary before?
Has the, I don't
The
know
only
if the
reason why
group
it
has
is-
decided yet on the one part of this, because it's been a lot of good discussion about it, which is, do you want the conditional use permit or not?
No.
And I'm hearing both sides of that story, so.
We're going to have a vote on it, or it's going to have to go back, because if a conditional use permit gets removed from this right now, it's going to require a public hearing, because that is a material change. So we're not going to decide on it tonight, obviously.
Well, maybe the majority of people think we should keep the conditional use permit in which case we don't get a.
All right, we'll just go around the tables. Your statements to keep the conditional use permit or remove it. David?
Keep it.
Barbara?
Remove it.
Tim?
Strike it.
Colleen?
Keep it.
Keep it. Joshua?
Just clarity, if we strike it, what happens then?
And it goes to the ZBA if. for
Yeah, then the zoning board of
variance.
adjustment has to
I'm
decide
voting no either way, so.
based on the state statute, because it provides for either or. You can have it some or not. we're taking control of the issue through conditional use permit. If we don't own it, then it goes to the ZBA to interpret the statute.
My understanding is I thought it was flipped. You could mandate that the first floor be commercial, and then you'd have to do conditional use to make it residential.
Exactly, and
But
that's.
this is different here. This is, it's conditional use on commercial, not conditional use on residential.
No, it would require it would require commercial on the ground floor, except where we grant a conditional use permit.
Except where you grant a conditional use permit to allow the residential.
Well,
It is providing flexibility to this board.
but it is sort of interesting because the statute doesn't reference commercial. The statute references industrial and manufacturing.
Well, I think that's a bad language because I don't think anybody's
My
gonna want their
point
apartments above an industrial building. Is that what the statute says? Industrial?
Yeah.
It's,
on top of
industrial is,
brewery.
you don't have to do this in an industrial zone.
So it says,
That's what it's-
notwithstanding any provision to the contrary, municipalities shall allow multifamily residential development on commercially zoned land, provided that adequate infrastructure, blah, 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 is there. Nothing in this section shall be interpreted to prohibit municipalities from restricting residential development in zones where industrial and manufacturing uses are permitted, which may result in impacts that are incompatible with residential use, such as air, noise, odor, or transportation impacts.
Well, that sounds like that goes to the commercial flex zone now.
Yeah,
That language goes to that to protect that.
yeah.
What, it could be an
But my
industrial
point is that
manufactured
the
zone.
statute doesn't say anything about
Provided
allowing
it's
you to
not
do this for
nuisance.
The
commercially
first
zoned
sentence you
property.
read,
No,
the
no,
first
it-
part you read said that.
You are allowed.
No, you shall,
You can allow, you can require commercial.
the
the
only
first floor.
statute, it says municipalities shall allow
Right,
multifamily residential development on commercially zoned land,
Yeah.
period.
right,
In order to do that, there needs to be adequate infrastructure.
yep.
But then.
Okay,
For the next one.
That's, the next line deals with industrial and manufacturing zones.
right, so go ahead,
There's-
and you
keep
read
going.
it.
And in those zones, you can
Deny.
only restrict it when it's when the uses are incompatible with residential uses.
Well, good. That gives us.
But my point is that that's not commercial.
Well, I think, no, there's
Because you're
definitely
missing
language
something.
that allows the planning board to require commercial on the first floor.
I was reading it, I didn't
Josh
see
is
that.
Are you reading the
Well,
bill
read-
or the final
Going
chapter
down the rabbit hole
version?
here.
There-
I'm reading it as it was introduced.
Yeah, no.
That's been changed 3 times
At
from.
least. So when you look up bills in the legislature, especially since these are bills that have gone through the process, there is, when you go to the bill docket, there is the bill as introduced. And then you will see a series of events with dates that talk about introduced, public hearing, but especially in these bills that have been signed by the governor, there will be,
But
Um,
no,
Final
Barbara,
version?
Barbara, it's right here in the final version. Underneath that paragraph on the industrial, then there's a municipality may require all available ground floor space or a percentage thereof to be dedicated to retail or commercial uses.
May require.
May require,
That's good.
and you think that applies to everything?
yeah.
Okay,
Then
all
I'm for,
right,
then I'm for keeping.
all right.
So does that eliminate the need for the conditional use permit if we have language that says that we may require it? We can require it on every application that comes through the door if we
Yeah, so
decide
we
it.
are, we're requiring commercial on the first floor of everything. The only way to not have commercial is by conditional use permit.
And then
Or we get rid of the conditional use permit and it's by variance.
I think the conditional use permit is a better process
Yeah.
than the variance myself. Because the
I
variance,
wonder why it restricts it to retail.
So we have 4 to keep and 2 to
We have-
remove.
We didn't finish.
Phil didn't vote. Phil was holding out.
We have 2 and 2.
I have one question.
Okay. Yeah, 1,
If
2,
we
3,
do it,
4.
if we do it by conditional use, only thing that we can change is that requirement and nothing else. If it goes to the ZBA and they want to remove the commercial, can't the ZBA require other changes and look at side distances?
I don't know about the ZBA process, Phil, I can't answer that question.
Well, anybody that goes to the ZBA for one thing could have things looked at and have changes made for.
I think, and I mean, they could apply to the ZBA for 17 variances if they wanted, and I think for me, in our conditional use permit language, requires, and there is a provision in there that if we grant a conditional use permit, that it has to meet all the other requirements of the ordinance. So in my mind, if they're asking for a conditional use permit, we're gonna grant a conditional use permit to allow residential, then it means that they haven't asked for any other waivers, any other variances, like everything else complies with the development regulations and the zoning ordinance. So, or we could say we're denying this conditional use permit because you don't meet X, Y, Z. So I think that it kind of gives us, I do think that we should take a look at our conditional use permit language, I guess, next year, to make sure that if we need to tighten that up, if we end up getting hit with a bunch of these things.
Well, the reason why I say that, you have different requirements between residential and commercial on distances. So if you were going to have a commercial use on the ground floor, let's say you had several of the stores, they need loading areas, they need different things that are required. If you're going to remove that commercial requirement and now it's going to be residential, the ZBA can then look at it and require distances to meet the residential.
But they don't. Look at the development across the villa.
I understand, but they have the ability.
I don't know that they do.
I think what you're saying, if I'm hearing it right, Bill, is that you're wondering, remember, this is a commercial zone, and in that zone, there are setbacks, regardless of the use. It's the zone has those setbacks. So if it's, like, for example, a 25-foot setback, it doesn't matter if they're saying it's commercial or residential. It's going to be a 25-foot setback. So it's for that zone.
All right, we're going to continue the vote on this. So we had 1, 2, 3. Did you vote in favor of leaving the
I said
conditional
keep it.
use in?
Yep.
And Phil, how do you vote?
I'll say take it.
So it's 4-3 moving forward.
So leave it in.
So we're going to leave number 4 as is with the words conditional use permit in it. Number 5.
I'd
Somebody
say
find some
so.
candy corn. Where's the
Honestly.
candy corn?
It's in my car. Go get it.
Come here, get me all rattled up here, you know?
Okay, we're off to the off-street parking ridiculous regulations.
4 units to 1 parking space.
Yep.
Ugh.
There's no way to know.
So we,
Just parking along the roads and stuff.
I didn't think it was that. I thought they made it something a little more strict in the beginning. Did they reduce it even more at committee? Because I don't remember it being 1 for 4. I thought it was 1 for 2. I thought they cut it in half for some reason. We used to require 2 spaces per unit. I thought they made it 1 per unit. Now it's 0.25 of the total units. Like nobody has a car that has an apartment, lives in an apartment building?
I believe
walks,
that's for the
takes
guest, that's for the guest parking.
Oh, okay,
So
I
it's,
guess I read it wrong.
it's
for the
requiring
guest
one
parking.
residential parking space per unit. Also clarifying guest parking, I don't believe that has actually changed, that's the same. It's just that right now you require 0.25 for the guests.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure it was understood that it's 1 spot for every 4.
Yeah, well, that's what the math works out to.
So the one, it's now just that 1. And you can see if you want to look back to the zoning ordinance, how that looks in that chart.
All right, well, I think that's very clear, Sylvia. I don't think we need to go any deeper than we are right now.
Sure.
I think we can move on this one after we discuss it. We're going to
Mr. Chair?
agree. Go ahead, Bruce.
I'd like to add in the third row, that has studio apartment, a separate line for ADU. Because we are allowed to require one parking for an ADU unit. And we need to be clear that that's going to be required.
Is that part of Senate Bill 284?
It satisfies 284 as well as 577.
So you want to add language to this?
Just inserting the words ADU in the description that there's going to be one required parking for that one in addition to that main house.
Yeah.
Also, especially, I'm looking at it if it's a detached, but even if it's an attached one, there's another dwelling unit. There needs to be a parking space for that, the ADU.
I agree, I think that makes sense. So when you look at the table of the off-street parking, because it's reducing it now that a single family is one parking space instead of two, two-family is one space, everything is one space, and we don't clarify in here that accessory dwelling units require a space.
Correct.
So I think that by adding.
So where do you want to add it? Or after the word
I-
also?
Right above guest parking.
So I
I
would,
treat it as the smaller units. but-
he's looking at the table, so
Yeah.
in the table,
Well, we're not talking about the table right now, are
Oh,
well,
Yeah,
we
this is
need,
what- This is altering the table. It's
This-
Okay, can we back up? Because 284 talks about parking for ADUs. So is that what we're talking about?
I'm adding that.
Well, that's what 284 talks about, according to Barbara's. It already talks about ADUs.
But we
So
don't,
but we don't have it in our
We don't.
table.
accessory parking for vehicles as residential parking per unit. So what exactly is accessory parking?
Accessory parking is for guests, I'm guessing.
How do we get 1 to 4? Like, I'm looking at the text of the bill and it says 1 per unit.
No, so the last
That's the
year,
guest parking.
we changed, because we had to revise last year, workforce housing units. They, at that point, made it, we could not require more than one space per unit for workforce housing units. When we did that,
That's
we
right.
knew that one space per unit was not enough, so we added guest parking as something required, so that way, in addition to the one space per unit for workforce, we were also coming up with, well, what's reasonable, one space per 4 for guest parking. So it's one per unit plus the guest parking. So we did that change last year. Now the legislature is saying where we used to require for regular single-family dwelling for everything else, they've knocked that down. We used to require 2. They've said you can only require 1 space per unit, period, for any residential parking, for any residential. So
I understand that's what you're saying, but it talks about accessory parking for vehicles. What is accessory parking?
It's the way that they
A
wrote it.
trailer?
That's my point, is it's
They wrote it so vague that nobody could ever hold them to the fire.
one residential parking space per unit. And it got rid of shall not require more than 1.5 residential parking spaces per unit for multifamily developments of 10 or more. So multifamily developments of 10 or more, we clearly had 1.5, they've clearly stricken it, that's 1. Studio and 1 bedroom under 1,000 square feet, and for workforce housing, which we've done in the I'm looking at the chart now.
So does this language need to be cleaned up for the second public hearing?
Well, I guess yes, because I think my question is, I think the statute only deals with, if you look at the strikeout language in the final bill, it has stricken for studio and 1-bedroom units under 1,000 square feet that meet the requirements for workforce housing. They've changed it from 1.5 to 1. That's the second block on the chart that Bruce referred to in the actual zoning ordinance or the third block that Sylvia printed out for us. And then the next thing it struck out was, and shall not require more than 1.5 residential parking spaces per unit for multifamily developments of 10 or more units. So that's the row that deals with multifamily units, 10 or more, guest parking, and we've taken the 1.5 and we're changing it for 1. The guest parking, I think we've sort of winged it on that. Because it might be in part of the statute that wasn't amended, because the final bill only has the piece of the statute that's amended. I'm not sure that this is requiring us, Sylvia, to change single-family, two-family, multifamily. I think this only deals with studio, one-bedroom, workforce housing, large multifamily. And that makes actually more sense, because you might have more variation in the typical, at least minimum, of 2 cars per dwelling unit in workforce housing and large multifamily buildings. I can at least understand somebody making that argument without laughing out loud. I can't understand that argument for single family, 2 families, and all of the other ones. I think we've changed more than we have to.
I agree that there's confusion on, because we may regulate accessory parking for vehicles, I don't know what accessory parking is, but shall not require more than 1 residential parking space per unit, period. This act shall take effect, and so it was effective as of
Well, I don't think
September.
we're gonna be able to look into the minds of the dumb legislature to figure this out
Yeah.
tonight. So we need to either get off of it and fix it later, or just ignore it. And we'll make our own rules until we get taken to court.
Yeah, I'm looking this and it says that required residential parking spaces from 1.5 to 1. With exceptions for certain multifamily of 10 or more units. Is that what you're saying too, Barbara?
No, because that's backwards from what I think it did. Okay, I'd have to look at the whole friggin' statute, but.
Looking at it from the
Can we
photos.
talk about it
So-
at the next public
Okay.
hearing?
Maybe we can look into that and clarify, and then if we need
Yeah.
to amend the language.
Because the amendment, the chapter version is only paragraph 7 of 258.1. So I would have to look at 258.1, let me open a new tab.
I'm thinking what most of us are doing in our planning seats are looking at what New Hampshire Municipal Association has, you know.
Who
'cause
wouldn't
they-
answer the question that I had?
That,
I'm just reading
right, we do that too, of course, but it gives it quite a bit of good guidance usually.
so that one I think we should
I'm happy to,
clarify and see if we're really required to make it 1 space per unit for all residential uses. But if we are required to, then I think that we need to clarify in our table that accessory dwelling units also require a parking space per unit.
Okay.
Because otherwise,
Yeah,
Don't have
Bruce's
a
point is
requirement
it
for
needs
them.
to be added.
yeah,
ADUs are actual.
Simplifies,
yeah.
clarifies the language.
so
Right, so-
I've made note of the ADU, so that
Thanks.
makes a lot of sense, so that would be 1. And, well, I'll just take another look at it,
So- So we're gonna look at the abbreviated, we're gonna talk about the abbreviated version. Are we okay with the abbreviated version, but then the language has to be repaired? Or is the language part of the abbreviated version?
I think the language is part of the abbreviated version because there's no excess on here.
So I assume we are not going to be agreeing that number 5 is okay, the way it is.
It just needs to be checked.
Well, we'll talk about that at the second public hearing. 6, we're back to ADUs. But that's,
now we're off of the
Parking.
mandated, so now we're on optional. So these can either be approved or they can go down in flames, however you all like. This
What do you-
one,
what do you
I
think?
understand number 6 was,
Mine?
I think it's bedtime.
Len?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your go-to-sleep alarm, Len?
So, just
That's my
to,
husband's wake-up alarm, it's why he never wakes up.
that's funny.
Sue.
Anyway, again, under accessory dwelling provisions now in 5.1, by increasing square footage allowance of an accessory dwelling unit from 800 to 950, and this is not mandated, it's allowed under that House bill. So, this was, I understand from Joanne that this is something this group debated last year, is that possible? And she wanted
Yeah,
to-
we debated it.
and she wanted to bring it up again.
So what are you saying? We can leave it at 800, but if someone wants to come in and ask for 950, we have the option of approving it?
Well, do we want to amend the ordinance to allow up to 950 instead of 800?
Increase the maximum to 950.
And I think last year, I
Well, then,
recall,
there's no point in having 800 even written
well,
in there.
yeah, that's why it would be increasing it from 800 to 950.
I see.
Last year, when we talked about it, I think there was sort of a, well, ZBA is getting a lot of variances in that 800 to 950 range. Do we want to just allow that by right so that they're not going through the process of going to the ZBA? And
But now the state's done it for us.
last,
No,
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 they
no, the
haven't.
state
They
has
haven't.
not changed the
This one's not
requirement.
mandated. We can decide if we want to allow this or not. Last year, I was all on board with like, yes, let's allow a little more size. Why are we making people go through this process and go to the ZBA? I'm honestly, though, really frustrated with some of the changes that have been put on us regarding accessory dwelling units. And so I'm trying not to have that react, because I do, Colleen of last year thought 950 was fine. Colleen of this evening is just frustrated with, you know, Articles 1 through 4.
Tim, the statutory minimum is 750.
1,900 square
We
feet.
have 800.
Well, my 3-story.
Statutory minimum 750?
Yeah, and we have 800.
But the legislature has said we
No.
have the,
And we can make it as much as we want.
Oh,
We
okay.
just can't make it
5,000
less than,
so why are we referencing House Bill 577?
I don't know.
Well, we don't have to, but it
Well, why-
allows you to have up to that, which I
No, no,
thought-
no, it has not changed the minimum. There's
Yeah.
been no change to,
No.
Yeah, I think that might just be a carryover.
You can't restrict anything to anything less than 750.
right, that's it.
Which we are okay with the
Yeah,
current
no,
size.
this is the max. We're going with max, not min.
Where is the max set forth in the statute?
It's not. I think, I don't think that there should be a reference to the house.
There's
bill
no
for this.
statutory max.
Okay.
We're just adding a max to the.
This is an in-house change, not a statutory
Right.
change.
We
So
can take that out.
we need to strike anything referencing any House bills.
Okay, let's strike that.
Mr. Chair, I would support this. From a practical standpoint, a basement, it's larger than 950. And a lot of times it's been difficult to satisfy the 800. They come with variance because they're at 1,200. But the legislature's changed. Now, because they have the common connector, that's not required anymore. It's a choice. They don't have to connect from the ADU up to the main house.
Right.
Or if it's an addition. So really, now they can do 900 and not really be impacted of having to make the traffic connect to the main house. So this, one, it's a benefit. Definitely 950 gives more flexibility to fit up the basement. And we're going to find out that the ingress and the egress is not going to go through the main house anymore. They're going to have their separate entrance and
It's a second house.
Well, even the ones
It
that
is.
were connected to the main house, they all wanted their own egress anyway.
Correct, right.
And they're coming to the highway for new driveways.
Yeah.
That's when I was looking at the driveway thing, it's like, we just had a bunch of conditional use permits and waivers come through for, my driveways aren't big enough, I need a second driveway.
All right,
No,
so
it's limit driveway.
let's decide as a
Parking.
group here, what are we doing with this? Are we gonna permit it to be up to 950?
No.
Dave is a no. Barbara?
I don't know.
Okay, Tim?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
I'm afraid I'm a yes as well. Joshua?
I'm gonna go with yes.
You said yes? Phil?
No, and there's a reason for it.
Okay, so it's, was 4-3, and it remains as stated up to 950.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir?
can I hear Phil's reason?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
This was just a
We're
straw
a
vote.
publicly elected body. The people have a right to know why we're going to vote.
Okay, go ahead and vote.
the way
Go
we
ahead,
are.
Phil.
Minority.
Fill it in.
Because if it's 800 and somebody comes in and they want it to be made, requesting it to be a little bit bigger, they can do that. Now, when you're making it bigger, they're gonna come in for 1,200
Slippery slope.
or more. But it's easy, if you're 800, they come in, they can be granted 950, it's one thing. 950 becomes 1,200.
I concur with Phil's logic because we're maintaining, the state has decided to maintain the falsity of referring to this as an accessory dwelling unit, which, if you have been around long enough, was originally proposed by builders and brokers to allow for another family member or a caretaker
Yeah, that all
to
morphed.
be at the house. So they were called accessory dwelling units.
So
now-
families could live together in retirement.
Exactly, and it had to be a family member, bloody, bloody, bloody.
And when
So
the
now we have morphed to a completely different residence, that's what it is, on a single-family lot.
It's an
or-
apartment that they can rent for income. End of story.
Oh, it's a house. It's a little house. It'll have a roof, it'll be...
And you keep making
It's a
it
cute
bigger,
little house.
when the property gets sold, a new owner now has a duplex.
And my
Well, they
my
also-
first condo was less
They
than...
also changed the rules
700.
regarding the septic systems as well, which I was
Oh, yeah.
against.
Thank you.
All right, so, number 6 stays, the language stays the same. Number 7,
I'm not sure why, number 7, but it's all about buildable area. And so, any of the area of a parcel except submerged land area, wetlands, any land within, and maybe Colleen, you have
Yeah, I
to
can-
know about this? Maybe you go ahead.
Yeah, so this came up in the Open Space Committee's reviewing, so the language for open space developments, and one of the items identified was first of all the buildable area, and I believe David had identified that our regulation is really land within 100 feet of wetlands, not 50 feet, so it's a correction to that. And then also, at the suggestion of Joanne, was revising how we define steep slopes. 25% is a very steep slope, so we adjusted that down to a 20% steep slope. And we exclude special flood hazard areas, so any designated FEMA flood zones are excluded from the buildable area calculation. So this came as something that was identified in the discussion from the Open Space Committee, just to clean up and tighten what we consider buildable area of a lot. So that it impacts more than just the open space development ordinance. It impacts any lot in the town when we're defining what the buildable area is. It's taking out any of those, which seems reasonable, what we've, are excluding from what's that buildable area calculation.
And if I could add that this came as one of the first things that the work group did, was look at other communities for some of the standards and what they included in non-buildable areas. And so, for example, there were flood hazard areas identified in other communities' ordinances that, given our flood zones, seemed to be something that was reasonable to include.
And I'm sorry, I'm looking back at my email because I recall Derek had emailed something. Okay, it was just that his opinion was that this buildable area should be its own article because it impacts everything, not just the
Right,
open
it's not
space. So that was Derek's comment, was just making sure that this should be a standalone from the rest of the open space.
Right.
so you're taking 7 out and doing something with it?
No, 7 stands as a
Seven
separate.
Seven
Okay,
stands.
As a standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you meant it need to be removed.
No,
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 no.
he was, the Open Space Committee had this lumped in with our
Oh,
eight.
okay, so you separated
Derek
it.
wanted to separate it out, which
Okay.
makes sense.
All right, anybody have any comments regarding the buildable area decisions here? Seeing nobody waving, so, are we in favor of the language in number 7, Dave?
Acceptable, yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Colleen? Tim says yes.
Yes.
Joshua? Phil?
Yes.
Well, that's the fastest one yet. We're close to 9.
Congratulations on that.
So-
Okay, number 8.
So I'll walk through this and I'll do it quickly because even though it's several pages, and it is the result of several months of dedicated work by our open space subcommittee, so thank you. We have a couple members in the audience here who helped. This really is a cleanup, and there are not substantive changes here that really significantly change the open space ordinance. I think that we will have additional work coming in terms of some updates to the development regulations on how we administer, but the actual zoning amendments, we're clarifying the purpose and objective. The objective statements were, we spent a lot of time as a committee reviewing and discussing what really are the purposes of the open space ordinance, what we're trying to accomplish. The most substantive changes, I'd say, are that we clarified that open space development may be approved only on land located within the R1, R2 agricultural and conservation overlay, open space district, if they have a parent lot of 10 acres or larger. We did keep this as a mandatory use of the open space if the parent lot is 20 acres or larger, so that's consistent with what was previously there. The density determination, I think, or no, what was our, Barbara, where was our change? I thought we had our 50% buildable area, and I'm not seeing that in this.
Yes, it is, 5259.
Okay, so we clarify that the density deterbination, so before I get to buildable area, the density determination is no greater than what would be
Oh, that's
permitted
buildable,
in your conventional. A yield plan is gonna be required, so if you're allowed, based on the buildable area calculation of your lot, under a conventional subdivision, if you could only get 10 lots, you can only get 10 lots in the open space. So there's no density bonuses here, or anything like that. The open space requirement previously was 50% in the conservation overlay and agricultural district and 40% in the R1 and R2. We changed that to 50% of the buildable area, period. So we want to make sure that we're getting that set aside of open space. So aside from that increase in the open space, and like I said, we do have some pending work on the development regulations and just how we actually administer some of the open space definitions. Did I miss something, Sylvia?
The only thing else, if you look at the short version on number 8,
Yep.
it just helps you see that it's actually getting moved from section 13.5.
Oh, yes.
If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. That was, and just me being annoyed by the fact that this previously was in section 13, which was our overlay districts. This is not an overlay district. These are supplemental standards for how open space developments should be designed. So we're moving it from section 13 overlay districts into section 5. So it's a cleanup.
So question, on any of the current developments that are in the process now,
Yeah.
if they started out fresh and this was there, how would this impact?
I think that the only impact would be the additional open space, right, Barbara? I think that
You mean the
the
bonus?
If it was in that
The
zone,
buildable area could be different.
The
because of
buildable
the
area.
buildable
because of-
area could be different
because of the
because,
flood hazard zone and the steep slopes going from 25% to 20%.
So-
I think the only open space one is nowhere near the flood zone, but.
Well,
but
and I don't
it's
know that
steep,
we
though.
have any in front of the planning board right now.
no, but
We don't have any that would be, we
So
don't
none
have
would be
any,
impacted by this?
there's no applications.
their buildable area would be reduced slightly, assuming there was maybe some floodplain There's definitely would have been a wider buffer, instead of 50 feet, the 100 foot on the wetlands would have reduced the buildable area slightly. So maybe
some of the density and some of the developments
theoretically,
would have been less. Is that what I'm
instead
hearing?
of getting 40 lots, maybe you would have been allowed 35 lots by right. It would not be a significant change, and it would be requiring 50% of your buildable area.
Well, I'm
open
asking
space.
because the school board brought up the budget committee, and for people listening, I want them to understand how this could help them,
Yeah.
which is they're concerned that there's too many homes going in some cases. So I'd like to know, like Acorn Drive, for instance, how would this impact that?
We don't,
We don't,
Probably like 2 lots.
2 lots.
I don't.
it would be
guessing.
hard to
Yeah,
say
not
because that's
significant.
obviously not a floodplain, but the slope
But the
issue
slope issue
probably
would
would have
impact.
affected it, so.
the only way this affects these types of subdivisions, Joshua, is that if it's determined that it's scattered and premature. And that comes with a statement from the school board, or from the fire department, or from the police department, or from the highway department, that we cannot, under our present system, support one more resident in this town. That's probably the only way we have out to deny a project that big. But somebody has to make those statements, and they have to quantify those statements for us to be able to trigger that statement on our
Right.
end.
So,
And this thing, these types of changes often trigger someone to show up with an application here in the end of February and get the application accepted prior to this being voted on.
Well, but these have been posted.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Not
no,
until the-
once they're
Oh,
posted.
once they're posted?
Yeah.
There's-
My mistake then, I stand corrected.
If the application is in, it doesn't matter what happens. but-
well, right, it's, pre-existing applications are not gonna be impacted by this, but
But-
all new applications would be impacted.
Would be
yeah.
impacted.
That's what I'm
And
trying to understand, so people understand exactly what they're
Yeah.
voting for.
New applications that come in, the buildable area is a little stricter in how the buildable area is calculated, so more areas are left out, which would reduce the density, not by a significant amount, like Scott said, a lot or two, a couple of lots.
Are you addressing the allowed area, impermeable surface area, or whatever
That'll be in the development.
that's in,
regs.
and that will come back to this? It'll join into it?
No, so part of the problem in the way it's set up is that we have this sort of open space overlay district, and then we have a section in the development regs, which we have public hearings on and adopt without town meeting. And so what the committee did when they looked at it was, Colleen pointed out, why is this even in this section of our zoning
I
ordinance?
guess, yeah.
We moved it, and these sort of gross concepts as to what are the goals, what are we doing, are going to be changed now in the zoning ordinance. This issue in regards to buildable area, when it came up, we were only looking at it from an open space perspective and calculations of yield plans and how do you check
Okay.
really what a site can be built to. And so these were changes based on our review and looking at other communities we thought were reasonable. This now is really independent of the open space because it's going into the zoning ordinance. So it will now be applicable going forward.
So, I'm not talking about buildable area, I'm talking about,
And that's in the development.
we have a regulation that states that you can not have more than, I think it's 25% of the total area of the parcel with impermeable surfaces, like driveways and roofs and all that stuff. We haven't,
That's in the regular development regs,
Yeah.
which.
but that would apply to this new
Yes.
section we're talking about as part of a regular application. It
As
doesn't
part
need-
of a regular
It
application.
doesn't need
yes.
to be mentioned in the text of this.
No.
Correct.
The
Okay,
text.
that's all I wanted to ask
The
you.
text of this just references that an open space development does need to meet the standards of the development regulations for open space,
Okay.
which exist but are being modified.
David, you have your hand up?
On the abbreviated version for number 8, I recommend that the next to last sentence be stricken.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I concur with that. Anybody want to leave that in there?
No.
Nope.
I'm sorry, I missed it. What, where?
The Planning Board's Open Space Rewrite Subcommittee recommends these revisions.
It's not an elected body,
Okay.
and the full planning board recommendation will be on the article.
that in the short version or the?
Short
That's in the
version,
short version.
yes.
Yeah, the last.
Abbreviated?
It's the sentence right before note.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, that's highlighted.
Gives
Sure.
plausible deniability to that committee too.
All right, so we'll start, once again, we'll
Thank you
start
so
with
much.
Dave. Is the language in the abbreviated version for number 8 acceptable, David?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yeah.
I vote yes. Joshua? And Phil?
Yes.
So,
Can I, if the chair will, I just want to say thank you to David Neiman and Bruce Buttrick and Joanne and Jim Raymond, Evelyn Miller and Betty Vaughn, who were all part of this subcommittee that, really dug in and reviewed. And I know that the changes don't look, but there was a lot of dialogue and discussion, making sure that this was going to work for Goffstown. So I appreciate everyone's efforts.
Thank you.
One or two arguments.
okay, so just recap here. Numbers 3, 4, and 5. The language in 3 was okay for the abbreviated version, but we have to do language repair for the amended zoning work, language. Number 4 is the same. We agreed with the short version for 4, but we still have to fix the language. And number 5 is a total kick it to the curb. It needs the short version needs to be repaired as well as the language, or just the short version for number 5?
The short version is the long version. I think we just needed validation.
Okay, so we
of
just
number
need,
five.
number 5 needs to be fixed.
Check
Just,
what the-
just needed to be
I-
validated.
what the
Yeah,
required-
I did look at New Hampshire Municipal Association, and it does say that 1 per unit, but I will look into the full text of that,
We should invite
of
them to
that
the
bill.
meetings.
I think we have to look at the full statute.
Yeah,
You want to
that's,
invite NHMA to the meeting so they could comment if they...
I know Rockingham Planning
We're
Commission.
not allowed to contact NHMA. Only
Okay.
Derek can contact.
Okay. So do we need a vote and a motion to vote on the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 to be non-discussion items at the next meeting? Or is the language repair, is that part of a public hearing, Bruce?
Can I make a comment? I have a recommended change for a definition 5.2.
Well, we're not, I don't want to go to definitions right now,
Okay.
unless it's going to
At some point in
affect...
time, can I address it?
Well, you've got, we'll
It's
have
a
like,
zoning change he wants to
we
make.
have like 7 minutes, so we'll get to you in a second, hang on. So, is repairing the language part of it, the workshop that has to be publicly discussed, or is the
No,
language?
this is technically a workshop. The zoning ordinances themselves will have their own
I'm trying
public
to go
hearing.
to your point that we don't have to readdress anything that
No,
we
we
voted
don't.
to
Yeah, no.
accept.
Yeah, 1, 2,
Well, we have to vote on them, but
Yeah.
as to the language that we're going to vote on, we have agreed.
yeah.
Okay,
So we'll have a hearing where we'll vote on our recommendation.
No, we're not going to have a hearing.
Not-
We're going to
not
have a
tonight.
meeting.
We're gonna- but-
No hearing, we have a meeting.
we have to have a public hearing, because
No, we don't. The public hearing is on what we recommend.
So we're not going to make a material change to 5?
The-
You said
the-
material
the
change was the-
material, and I misspoke. The material change, we could have voted on, we can vote on anything we're not changing tonight. If we're changing anything, then at the second meeting,
Number 5, we have to vote on.
we would vote at the second meeting.
All right, so are we going to vote on 1, 2, 3,
If
4?
we're changing things, you might want to just do it all.
But this wasn't posted as a
Right.
public hearing. This was posted tonight
It's a
as a
workshop.
workshop.
Okay.
So we need to
still
post
have
a
to look
public
at
hearing.
all of them.
Yeah.
But that's the zoning public hearing that
Yeah.
Patty sent out the schedule for. We would be able to vote at it at our regular meeting. Let me look at the agenda.
Yeah, they'll go as is, the ones that you
Yeah.
have all checked at your December meeting.
Right.
At the
Yeah.
next November meeting, which is
We're
next
only
week,
going to
right?
discuss
You'll
3,
discuss,
4, 5.
yes.
Right.
So those
Continued review.
I'll be looking at next week.
And anybody that had comments for Sylvia, please email the comments so she can incorporate them into the changes as she sees fit based on people's suggestions.
So, from what I'm hearing, Chair, is that there's nothing else that needs to be done with this for tonight?
Not tonight.
No.
So now-
So the deadline, Bruce, you might want to know this, the deadline to submit zoning petitions is December 10th. And then December 11th is our meeting with the public hearing
Yeah.
on these, and that's when we will vote on them, yeah, up or down.
Okay, Bruce, you have the floor.
So, this is, I went through the actual zoning ordinance and did my own red line, because that's what I read and speak with, because it's a zoning ordinance. The supplemental standards for the ADU, I think it's section 5.2, accessory dwelling unit, the red line version, it's very confusing. If you read it,
Which one, sir?
it's 5.2, it says page 28 on my copy.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, but is it a subsection or just the 5.2?
It's 5.2, and it says accessory dwelling unit, it's a definition, I think, in the supplemental, but
No, the definition would be in the definition section.
it should be, but reading this, it's whatever, to me, it's a definition, but I would recommend this. Accessory dwelling unit, one accessory dwelling unit may be within or attached to a single-family dwelling or within a detached structure, subject to the following provisions. And then it goes down to, that has the script for and those. Reading what we've got here, it doesn't make sense to me. This is-
So you're just talking about that one paragraph that's
Yes.
by the bold 5.2 accessory dwelling unit.
Correct.
Would you submit that language to
They're right here.
Sylvia? Please?
I don't have the 10 copies that I should have had.
Thank
Well,
you.
Yeah, I
Well,
see
I
we're
think
reading
for-
that, it's
So let's,
awkward.
It is.
Yeah, I think she was trying to fit it in existing language,
so Sylvia,
Yeah.
could you read
Yeah.
This is
Bruce's
fine.
statement again, please, for everyone, so we can look at it?
Sure, and I'm thinking this would be 5.2, accessory dwelling unit. One accessory dwelling unit may be within or attached to a single-family dwelling or within a detached structure, subject to the following provisions.
Okay, I'm going to back up with the word may, because Jim Raymond has lectured us on the word may. We shall be, the word shall needs to be
You know
replaced
that.
instead of may, because Jim Raymond knows his lawyer stuff, and it leaves room for discussion. So-
Right now, it does state in your existing definitions, because the way I've put it in, if you look at your first page there on full language, you can see your existing wording and the proposed additional wording in red. So right now, it does say, one accessory dwelling unit may be attached to a single-family residence, and then in red, or detached with a single-family dwelling, subject to the following provisions.
I don't even know what paragraph you're on. Full language version,
Full language.
first page,
First page, right.
and what
I don't
numbers?
even-
If you look right here, the second.
5.2.2?
No, 5.2.
5.2, yep.
So second to the last paragraph on the first page, you can see what your existing language is.
Okay, so I would ask that we strike the word may and insert shall.
Well,
You can also, if you want to look on page 28 of the zoning, this group that shows how it would look in the
Ordinance.
ordinance.
Bruce, do you have the full language version in front of you?
From the ordinance?
The one that was submitted tonight that we were all looking at? You looked at the short language, right? Short.
No, I was from the zoning ordinance.
No.
He's got
Sylvia
that.
has your language right here on the full version,
Okay.
the way you've presented it, almost verbatim.
No, not really.
no.
Well, it's a little bit different. This,
Not
okay.
by
It's
much.
reference to a single-family residence, and it shouldn't, residence isn't, it should be a single-family dwelling. We don't,
All right, well then the word dwelling,
Okay, stop, because you were looking at a part of the zoning ordinance and not the definition section.
right.
Part of the problem is 5.2 starts to be a definition, and it's not in the definition section of the ordinance. We have accessory building, and we have accessory use. There is a statutory definition of an accessory use in RSA 674:71, I think. Because in general, an ADU is a secondary residential living unit on the same parcel as a single-family home, period. which may or may, and then I think
Okay.
that then this section would just be
Detached,
accessory dwelling, say, may be incidental, it can be attached, it can be detached, but that's, I mean, we need to decide whether we want it in the definition section, and I recall we had a big,
It covers both, actually.
Well, we need to have
Yeah.
this cleaned up so we can talk about it the next meeting.
So-
We're bouncing it around here.
The reason why these are somewhat grouped, this number 1 covers all the definition, but the definition, like you said, is kind of in 2 places. It's in your glossary, and that covers, on that first page, that A and B, and it says within the glossary section, but also within section 5.2, and I lumped this all together so that you wouldn't have this ginormous thing to look at for voters. So this tells you within section 5.2, you're amending that definition accordingly. And you can see the existing language with the additional language. I think that what we're looking at here under 5.2, which is that second paragraph to the bottom, the way it's been suggested now would read, 1 accessory dwelling unit may be within or attached to a single-family dwelling or within a detached structure subject to the following provisions. So it's a little more succinct.
Yeah, it reads a little better.
And so I think it reads a touch better.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to make that revision.
All right, if you could do that, that'd be great, and you don't have to reprint this whole thing unless you want to just print the 1 page that it regards.
Yeah, no, I'll have to reprint.
The whole.
Because there'll be other items where we're looking at, the parking and the gross
All right,
floor
well-
area.
We'll accept it when you're done with it.
So, all right, so
Thank you, Bruce.
thanks for that language.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
is there anything else we need to cover tonight?
I just want to, I'm not going to jump the gun here. I'm good at that. Is everybody satisfied with the outcome of tonight's discussion at this point? Anybody who has any comments that would be germane to the discussion, please email Sylvia with them so that she can wade through all the comments and pick out the best option for us. And then we'll allow you to make a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, GTV. We are adjourned.